I think an important topic to talk about in today's video is context. So I haven't actually educated you guys on what this is. Some of you might already know, some of you may not. So I'm going to speak to the audience that do not know what context is in AI. So I'm going to go over everything, what context is and why this is so important, okay? And how you can manage it to stop burning tokens and start moving faster. So I'm going to go over everything from A to Z. So let's get started. Basically, AI is kind of stupid when it comes to memory. It has no memory. It only has a context window. So the context window is everything the AI can see in a single session. It is the messages, the replies, the files, MCP server, Claude MD file, skill, plugin, everything. That's the context window. And Claude has a finite number of tokens it can hold at once. And once full, the older content gets pushed out. Or you pay more for per call, basically. So you have a 1 million token context using Opus 4.7, and the further you go up to that limit, the dumber the model becomes and the more you pay per token. So you pay more for a dumber model basically, which is why it's so important that you follow this video and you implement everything accordingly. Because a lot of people lately have had issues with Claude Code where they just input a few prompts, start a few sessions, and before they know it, they're already at like 80% and they're almost at their limit. And they have another 4 hours until it resets. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because it's been an issue for myself as well. So if it's an issue for me, I know it's an issue for you guys. So if I can come here and give you some context and value in this regard, I think it's going to help you a lot. So again, more context equals more cost. Every token in the window costs money. A bloated session from 3 hours ago is silently inflating every single request. So the more you have in your session and you haven't cleared the session, you haven't compacted it, you haven't started a new one or whatever, the more you're paying and you get worse outputs because you have this thing called context bloat. Now AI has to read through everything you've done in the past to give you an answer. Whereas like 98% of the things that it's going to look through may not even be relevant to what you wanted to do or the answer that you want. So context does not equal quality. A bigger context window does not mean better answers. Irrelevant context actually degrades output quality. So what fills your context window is going to be the system prompt. The system prompt is the first thing that's going to fill that up. And that's usually your claude.md file. So you have your system prompt that takes up some of the context and some of the token usage. And then you have your user prompt, the prompt that you're actually giving Claude Code. That's actually also going to take up some of that token usage. Then all the conversation history, it reads through that. The entire files and code base reads through that. I'm going to show you how you can tweak this and look into this to see what you're actually spending tokens on. And then the new prompts on top of that. And then, it gets full pretty quickly. And the number one waste, leaving long sessions running. Conversation history silently balloons with every turn and you pay for all of it every single time, basically. So the first thing you can do is /clear. That's the first command that you can use. It wipes the entire session, you start fresh. It clears the entire conversation history from the context window. Claude forgets everything from the current session. It's like opening a brand new chat, basically, right? And this is something you use when you finish the task and you're starting on a completely different task. So you don't need that context window anymore. You don't need that session. It's just dead weight. You can just delete everything, start fresh. This is something you should use every time you're running new topics or new sessions or new tasks or whatever. Because it would be stupid for you to give Claude Code new prompts for completely new topics without having cleared the context window. Because now it's still going to read through your past conversation history for something it doesn't even need. And it's going to cost you more money. It's going to make Claude Code more retarded. And it's stupid. So whenever you're done with a task, you clear it. Every single session that you do in Claude Code or run in Claude Code should be for one task at a time. One thing at a time. Once you're done with that thing, clear it. /clear, start fresh. That's it. It drops context to near zero. Of course, you're still going to have your claude.md file, the system prompt, user prompt, all that. but it basically drops it to damn near zero. And sure, there's gonna be some other things in the context window, like again the files, MCP servers, and all these things. But yeah, you save cost as much as you can, and your next prompt starts with a clean slate. And the trade-off is it won't remember what you built. So you summarize first if you need to carry any decisions forward. So say you have a session, and I'm gonna go into this a little bit later too, but say you have a session and you want to kind of carry over something into a new session, and you want to use the clear/command, you can tell Claude Code to summarize the entire session, copy paste that summary, paste that into the new session, and obviously first clear the existing session and then paste that into the new session. Then it's going to have all the context it needs without all the bloat, basically. So run clear at the start of every morning session. Yesterday's context is just burning money. That's it. The second one is compact. So say you don't want to ask for summary and start a new session, and you need to continue on the one that you're on. Whenever you reach, say in my opinion, like 200K tokens, 300K, use the /compact command. It's going to take the entire context window and just compact everything. So you're not using up as much token and you still have the same quality. Still knows everything about the session, but you're not using the full context that you used before. So compacting takes like 30 seconds to a minute, but it's worth it if you don't want to go through the hassle of, say you're in a very important task and you don't want to risk having Claude lose any context, then this is very good. Just use the /compact command. It's going to remember exactly everything while using less tokens and being smart at the same time, because it doesn't have any context bloat. The risk of using /clear when you have a very important task that you're doing is that it forgets very important context, because it starts from a clean slate. Even if you give it a summary, it might still lack some context and make mistakes. So use this for those use cases. So when to use, as I said, mid-task, you need Claude to remember what's been built, but the session is getting heavy. So you don't want to risk using /clear. It's just going to ruin everything for you in this context. So if you're mid-task and you need to continue, you use this one. It basically compacts your existing conversation into a tight summary, then continues the session. You keep all the important context, but use far fewer tokens going forward. And the token impact can reduce context by 60 to 80% while retaining the essential decisions, code state, and progress. This is very crucial for you to be able to use Claude Code as long as possible in your usage window. So the trade-off, some nuance gets lost in compression. Fine details from early in the session may not survive. But honestly, this is not that big of a trade-off. I have not noticed this to be an issue at all. Whenever I use /compact, I retain the exact same quality. It remembers everything. It's never been an issue. So don't worry about this too much. So run /compact every 2 to 3 hours on long builds before context starts degrading your outputs. And I wouldn't even follow the 2-3 hour like thumb rule. I would just look at the context window, and we're gonna go into how you can see how much context you're using up. Use that instead. It's far better in my opinion, because then you know exactly where you're at in the context window, how many tokens are being used and what the status is. Then you can use it. So it's not about the time, it's about how much context is being used right now, right? And this can be used up in like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, you don't know. So don't listen too much at the time, but actually look at the command. So that's where we come into /context. And I can actually show you what this would look like. So if I just open up a new session here, I just do this, and I do /context, you're gonna see exactly what's being used up. So /context, it's gonna open up the entire context for your session. Even at the beginning of a session, you're gonna be using a bunch of tokens. So here you can see. So right now, I'm using Claude Sonnet 4.6, and it's already using 22K tokens out of 200K for this session, which is insane, right? So this specific model only has 200K tokens. You can choose your models here as well to see what you want. Opus 4.7 has 1 million. However, Opus 4.7 is very expensive, and I'm going to explain that a little bit further as well. This plan here is something I'm going to go into as well, but we'll get into that. But basically you can see 22k tokens out of 200k tokens, 11% is already being used. So what's eating up all this? So we can see exactly what's doing that. All these MCP tools, all these MCP plugins, these custom agents, 247 tokens, 50, 59, 47. And then you have this skill right here, 205 tokens. And you're probably not going to use most of these when you're running a certain session, right? So you can disable a lot of these by, when you're starting a specific session where you don't need all these actual skill plugins, MCP server, because they're just eating up a lot of tokens. Say you're gonna run a session that's only, dependent on the UI UX Pro Max skill, and most of these are not going to be used for that session. You can disable all of these and only use this one, right? And you can do the same thing for everything else to minimize the token usage, right? So this is a very important thing you can use. It's an important hack, and yeah, keep that in mind. So that is the context. Yeah, very, very important. So when things feel slow, expensive, or off, run this before assuming you need a bigger model or plan. You need to know what's going on behind the scenes, what's actually eating up your tokens, to know how you can minimize it. And yeah, as I said, it shows a breakdown of what's currently in your context window, messages, files, tools, so you can pinpoint what's inflating your usage and then kill it. It's often a single large file that's eating up a lot of tokens. So you can actually find out what's doing that. So in this specific instance, there's not a whole lot that's eating up. The main thing is are these ones. So it's the system prompt, the system tool, the memory file. So these three things, we're going to need them. The system prompt, system tools, and memory files, they're going to be very important. So we can't really remove these. But the other things like skills, you can choose which ones you want to use. You don't need to use all of them. So they take up a lot of tokens, 2.9K. Messages, same thing there. Free space, 144K, 72.2%. So as you can see, it's a lot that's being eaten up just like that, which is a bummer. So keep this in mind all the time. Remove the offending files, run compact or clear, and restart with only what you need, which is what we went over previously. And check context at the start of a long session. At the start of a long session. Don't let the window inflate invisibly for hours. So yeah, super important command. And then again, what I mentioned earlier, you can also summarize a session and then clear and start a new session. So you carry on the knowledge onto a new session, but I wouldn't use this if it's a very crucial task that you're mid-task in, because then you're probably going to lose very important context. In that case, I would just do /compact. But when you want to continue something that may not be super crucial, then you can just summarize the session, carry that prompt into the next one. It's going to have all the context. It's going to know what it needs to do. And then you can just do that. So the prompt is just summarize everything built in this session, decisions made, code written, what's next, and so on and so forth. You run clear, paste the summary as the first session in your new session, continue building. A 300-word summary replaces 10,000 tokens of conversation history. Same intelligence, 97% less cost. So this is why it's important. And save summaries to an Obsidian Vault or Claude.md file for persistent project memory across all sessions. And I'm going to go over Obsidian in a future video. It's basically a second brain where you can carry on all the context and all your memory in MD files. So it can basically read off of that all the time. It never loses its main memory, its main knowledge, and its main brain. It can always run off of that. But I'm going to create a video about this in the future and how you can set it up and how you can use it for yourselves and use this as an actual vault that's going to be fed into Claude Code, and it can use every single session. And another thing I haven't mentioned is this one right here. And I want to go over it very quickly. So I highly recommend that you download this Git repo Caveman, and you can just activate it by typing /caveman. And what Caveman does, it has the LLM, Claude Code, output fewer words. And every word is about 0.75 tokens. So 75% token of the word, right? If you use this one, it's basically going to speak like a caveman for you, and you're going to use up far fewer tokens as a result. So it's going to speak like this. Why use many tokens when few do trick? So it actually has the same quality, but at the same time, you get fewer tokens used up, right? So this is going to be very important for you to use as well. So go ahead and download this. I'm going to include it in the description below. It's going to be very useful for you to actually use this one. Yeah, and then we have model opusplan. So this one, I don't recommend it at all times. If you're going to run complex tasks, I don't recommend it at all times, because as you can see, if I do this and I look at Opus plan mode, the problem is it's using a context window of 200K. It doesn't have a 1 million context window as Sonnet has and as Opus 4.7 has. So it's not really ideal in my opinion, because if I scroll up here, you can see 200K tokens. We want a token window of, or a context window of 1 million in my opinion, because then you have so much more to work with. It's far smarter. It can carry much more information and much more knowledge. 200K is not enough in my opinion. But if you're going to run basic tasks, what you do is you plan in Opus and you execute in Sonnet. So this is what that command does. It's basically model Opus plan. And then it's set model to Opus in plan mode, else Sonnet. So you don't even need to activate plan mode. It's gonna plan in Opus for you, and then it's gonna execute in Sonnet. So switches Claude Code into two model workflow. Opus thinks through the hard architecture decisions, and Sonnet executes the actual code. Best of both without paying Opus rates for everything, right? So system architecture, complex reasoning, breaking down ambiguous problems, that's what Opus does. High cost, high intelligence, tasks only. Sonnet writes the actual code, running tests, file edits, fast and cheap for repetitive execution tasks. Cost impact, Opus is 5 times more expensive than Sonnet per token, which is crazy. Using it only for planning cuts your bill dramatically. So that's why this is useful. And when to use, starting a new feature or system, let Opus design the plan, then hand off to Sonnet to build it out. But again, if it's a complex task, I don't recommend this, since yeah, it's a very small context window, so it's not going to carry on a lot. Plus, you're still going to write code with Sonnet, which is maybe not the best thing. So Opus is still going to be the best, but this can be useful for basic tasks. So yeah, that's it. And I'm also going to post this entire spreadsheet into my school community. So if you want to go through this and actually have something that you can memorize and save it into your desk, I'll include that below. And also again, this Git repo. But again, I hope this video helped. If you start implementing these commands, you're going to significantly see a massive difference in how long you're able to use Claude Code. Because if I look at my usage right now, it's already at 51%. And I have 3 more hours, and I'm already implementing all of these things. So also in a future video, I'm gonna look into Olama and how you can use fallback models more efficiently that are very, very capable. So you can keep coding even after you hit your usage limit. I've already created a video of that in the past, but we're gonna go a little bit more in depth and actually test out the models of what they can do to actually convince you that it's a worthwhile thing to do. But that's a final way of saving tokens, or actually continue coding after you've hit your limits. You basically go to Olama and you have plenty of models here that you can use and run. So Kimi K2.6 is one of the newest open source models. It can run on cloud, so you don't have to run it locally, and you can even run it on Claude Code. So this is the exact command you would use, and that's it. So you have another way here of actually using more tokens in case you run into token limits. So that's it, guys. Hope this helps. Let me know in the comments below if there's something that's unclear, or if there's something else you want to see from me. Otherwise, most of this entire sheet here is going to be inside the school community. But other than that, appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time, likely tomorrow. Cheers.